In 1324, one African king was so incredibly wealthy that his generosity single-handedly crushed the economies of entire nations. His fortune was so legendary that European maps literally marked his location as, quote, where the Gold King lives. Today we bring Mansa Musa back to life to reveal how he built the greatest personal fortune in human history, worth over $400 billion in today's money.
This is Mansa Musa, brought back to life through cutting-edge AI. Look at this remarkable transformation from a faded medieval manuscript to the vivid reality of history's most powerful ruler. Born around 1280 in the heart of West Africa, Musa inherited the throne of the Mali Empire in 1312, when it was already incredibly wealthy. But what he did next would make him not just the richest African in history, but the richest human being who ever lived. His empire was absolutely massive, stretching across what we now know as Mali, Senegal, Mauritania, Guinea, and the Gambia. We're talking about over 12,000 square kilometers of territory. That's larger than the entire Roman Empire at its peak. But size wasn't everything. Location was key. Musa controlled something that medieval Europe desperately needed: gold. Lots of it. His empire sat right on top of some of the richest gold deposits in the world, in regions called Bambouk and Bouré. And here's what made him truly brilliant. He didn't just own the gold mines, he controlled every single grain of gold that flowed from sub-Saharan Africa to Europe and the Middle East. Every trade route, every caravan, every merchant had to pay tribute to Mansa Musa. By the time he reached the height of his power, this one man controlled half of the world's supply of gold and salt. Half of it. No wonder European mapmakers started drawing him on their charts, holding a golden nugget, marking Africa as the land where the Gold King lives. But Musa wasn't just sitting on inherited wealth. He was a brilliant businessman who understood something that modern billionaires still use today: controlling the supply chain. Think about it. Mali didn't just mine gold. They controlled every single gram that flowed from sub-Saharan Africa to Europe and the Middle East. Every caravan, every trader, every merchant who wanted to move gold had to pass through Musa's territory. Musa implemented what we would now call a vertical monopoly. He controlled the gold mines in the southern regions of Bambouk and Bouré. He controlled the trading posts where merchants gathered. He controlled the desert routes where caravans traveled. And he controlled the northern cities where the gold was sold to Arab and European buyers. Every step of the process, he took his cut. It was taxation, tribute, and pure business genius all rolled into one. No gold moved in West Africa without Mansa Musa getting paid. But gold wasn't his only source of wealth. Salt, yes, regular salt, was worth its weight in gold in medieval times. And guess who controlled the largest salt mines in Africa? The mines at Tagaza produced tons of pure white salt that was absolutely essential for preserving food and maintaining health in the desert climate. European and Middle Eastern merchants were willing to pay astronomical prices for this white gold.
In 1324, Mansa Musa made a decision that would change history forever. As a devout Muslim, he decided to make his pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey that would become the greatest display of wealth in medieval history. But this wasn't just any ordinary pilgrimage. You see, when Musa traveled, he traveled in a style that defied imagination. His caravan was absolutely mind-blowing. Picture this, 60,000 people, 60,000 stretching across the Sahara like a golden river of humanity. 1,000 camels carried the precious cargo, each beast bearing 300 pounds of gold dust. But here's the truly insane part. 500 slaves walked ahead of the emperor, each carrying a staff of solid gold weighing 6 pounds. 300 pounds of gold just for spending money during the trip. When local rulers heard of his approach, they came from hundreds of miles just to witness this walking treasury. And then came Cairo. When Musa reached the great city in July 1324, something extraordinary happened. The emperor was so generous, so impossibly generous with his gold gifts, that he single-handedly crashed Egypt's economy for over a decade. Let me put this in perspective for you. The price of gold, the most stable currency in the medieval world, plummeted by 25% overnight. 25%. It didn't recover for 12 years. The governor of Cairo later wrote, "This man flooded Cairo with his benefactions. He left no court official without a gift of gold." The emperor stayed for 3 months, and by the time he left, the entire economic foundation of Egypt had been shaken to its core. Imagine being so wealthy, long pause, almost whispered, that your generosity destroys entire economies. This wasn't just wealth. This was economic power on a scale the medieval world had never witnessed. Word of Musa's wealth spread across the medieval world like wildfire. You see, European cartographers began drawing him on their maps, literally putting Africa on the global map because of one man's fortune. The famous Catalan Atlas of 1375 shows Musa holding a golden nugget with the inscription, "This lord is called Musa Mali, so abundant is the gold in his country." But just how wealthy was this African emperor? His wealth was estimated to be around $400 billion in today's purchasing power, making him quite possibly the wealthiest individual who has ever lived. To put this in perspective, his personal fortune exceeded the entire GDP of most medieval European kingdoms combined. But here's what's truly remarkable. Musa's wealth wasn't just personal fortune hoarded away. No, he used it to transform his empire into a center of learning and culture that would rival the greatest institutions of the ancient world. The University of Timbuktu became one of the world's first universities, attracting scholars from across Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. Picture this. In the heart of the Sahara, a city where over 25,000 students studied mathematics, astronomy, law, and literature. The library alone contained over 700,000 manuscripts, more books than existed in most European capitals at the time. This wasn't just wealth. This was the power to create a golden age of human knowledge and learning. So, what can modern entrepreneurs learn from history's richest man? First, control your supply chain. Musa didn't just own gold mines, he controlled every step from extraction to international trade. Second, geographic advantage matters. Mali was perfectly positioned at the crossroads of trans-Saharan trade routes. Third, diversification. Gold, salt, trade taxes, and agricultural production
Musa never relied on a single income source. And finally, invest in knowledge. His investment in education and scholarship paid dividends for centuries. These principles still work today, whether you're building a tech startup or an investment portfolio.
Mansa Musa proved that with the right strategy, geographic positioning, and vision, one person can build wealth that impacts the entire world. But his story is just the beginning. If you want to discover more legendary fortunes brought back to life, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Next week, we're bringing back John D. Rockefeller, the man who controlled America's oil and built the first billion-dollar fortune in history. Trust me, his story will change how you think about business forever. I'll see you in the next episode of Wealth Legends Reborn.